Bring in Michael Fallings, a partner at the law firm of Tully Rinckey and an expert in federal employment law. It's good to see you. Michael, what are your biggest concerns about this buyout offer, and what are you telling folks who are calling you and asking for advice?
Well, these federal employees are confused. They're scared for many of the reasons we've been discussing. They've been given just over a week to make a decision, maybe a life-changing decision. They're scared because of all the threats that have occurred, even if they do decline the resignation. But some of the things I've been telling federal employees is to, specifically review the agreement that has been sent, to most federal employees. And the specific clause I've been referencing is that withdrawal of any and all claims, which wasn't really fully described to these federal employees when the initial email went out on January 28th. But since then, there's been an agreement that's sent out to most federal employees that requires them to withdraw any claims against their agency pertaining to their employment or even pertaining to the deferred resignation, which really puts the employee in a difficult position, because if there's issues regarding their pay, perhaps in the resignation period, perhaps if they decide to take other employment, which apparently that's allowable, but that if the government finds there's issue with that, it leaves them without a loss of challenging those actions by the agency.
Yeah, this might not even be a valid contract is the concern, because as an employee, you just have to type the word resign, send it, right, from a government email account. But some of those employees have noted when they first got the email, they thought it was spam. They thought it looked so unofficial. How do you determine whether this is a valid and binding and enforceable contract? I mean, what are the implications of this uncertainty?
Yes, it's very uncertain. I think the email initially came from an email inbox that no one had ever seen. And then the next day there was new information, and it seems to be changing by the hour. Whether it's a valid enforceable contract, I think will be determined. It's certainly already been challenged. There's several provisions of the draft agreement that's been set out that, I believe could be unenforceable. We've talked about how there's not even funding guaranteed past, March for these employees. There's a discussion whether there's even consideration, a valid consideration, which you need for a contract that's being provided for these employees. So whether this is even a valid enforceable contract is a concern that employees that I've discussed at, my firm, whether that's is something that's viable.
Yeah, and the other question I have is, even if you decide to essentially roll the dice and it turns out that for one reason or another you're not getting paid, or what you thought was the deal isn't the deal, and this goes to court, how long do you want to be in this situation of having lawyers, not knowing what your future holds, not knowing if you're going to get money? I'm thinking about the lawsuits that are still in play after folks who were fired at Twitter, or X, Elon Musk's company, filed, some of them still active, and who knows when they'll be settled.
Yeah, and that's the scary thing, is you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if you accept the resignation, who knows what may happen regarding the legality of it, and you may be stuck without a way to challenge the issues that may arise. But if you decline it, then you may be subject to potential termination regarding the administration's announcement that there will be mass layoffs. You're still in a difficult position. It's a lot of fear for these federal employees, understandably, because there hasn't been clear information and it's been ignorant of these federal employees' livelihoods.
Yeah, and you're up against Elon Musk and Donald Trump, who history tells us are not two men who will shy away from a lawsuit. Michael Fallings, thank you so much. We appreciate your expertise.